Hey everybody, it's Bust with Battles with Bust number 496, and today we're doing battle with Poppy Teemo. And so, before we dive into Poppy Teemo, I must say apologies to the daily followers. I know we haven't really got too much content out over the course of the past week, but we've landed in this kind of awkward space within the seasons to where the open event is gone. We're waiting on the new format to roll in, which is going to be Eternal with the variety patch, which will shake things up. I'm sure that there's going to be some amount of balance changes as well, so the format that we're playing right now is going to be different than 2 days from now, and typically we fill in this time with Singleton, but Freeform is the kind of bonus format right now, and I just don't really like Freeform, and it just kind of leaves us in this awkward space as to where it's not fair to say that there's nothing to do, but it's always just kind of awkward and weird to produce the content that's only good for like a day or 2 days or 3 days. And so just kind of, I was kind of up in the air as to what to do. Now, I thought I found a savior in the monthly quest from the Path of Champions, just kind of activating immediately after the open tournament, and that was my intent. Once I saw it on there and started playing through it, I kind of looked at it and I was like, okay, these people that are doing a lot of Path of Champions are clearing this monthly quest in like 8 hours. I was like, I haven't played a ton of Path of Champions here recently, but I bet I can fill out like 75% of it in 8 hours. And then as we get to the end where it's all 4 and 4.5 and 5-star quests, we can really kind of focus in on that as kind of a content creation place. But that timing was incredibly inaccurate. I'm not certain if I even have enough star-powered champions to really even push through the whole thing. And so that was what I was kind of devoting my time to over the course of the past few days. I could have just made videos with it, but I don't like making Path of Champions content for those lower level star quests, and so it was just kind of an awkward moment for for things to do within the channel. Again, I don't like saying that there's nothing to do and there aren't things to do. Just playing the game's fucking fun, right? But to have kind of new and compelling content at the end of these seasons is a bit challenging to do. But nonetheless, here we are. We're going to give Poppy Ziggs Teemo a shot. And we've touched on this a little bit. If you follow along with the Champion Draft series, there was a very interesting set of changes within the balance patch that didn't really get much light in the space of constructed. And so what I'm talking about here is the Portal Pioneer is now keyworded to Yordle, and then the Yordle Explorer is now a 2-3 instead of a 2-2. And, you know, the thing with Yordles in the space that I kind of look at them at is they've been really close to being a real deck in Eternal for quite a while now. Now, a lot of people do play Poppy Ziggs, which is more flavored towards what we're playing today with the Nox and Burn package added in. I'm typically not as huge of a fan as that. I typically look towards things like Poppy Lulu with some challengers in it, or just Poppy in general with things like Champion Strength. But I think it's worthwhile to kind of circle in and see how the Yordles feel in this space before the variety patch gets here and the Eternal season starts. And the Eternal Open is going to hit fast this season, right? The Eternal Open is, I believe it's 10 days after the release of the set, when it's typically over 2 weeks away, because there's also the World's Last Chance qualifier this month, the weekend after the Open. And so we gotta hit Eternal hard and fast to get ready for that Open, and so it feels kind of nice to get a little bit of our feet wet here, even though we know the format's likely going to shake up just a little bit. The last note I'll make there is I also expect there to be a fairly heavy Yordles presence in the last set to come out of the year. That's the it's in December, right? So the variety patch comes out here like 4 days from now, 3 days from now, and then the next set release should be at the beginning of December. And so with it having a Bandle City champion attached to it, I kind of have a feeling that as Riot is hinting to some of these Yordles changes, we're going to see something that can affect these units, whether or not it's more Yordles or more multi-faction units or a new champion that's a Yordle or whatever. There's just a lot of opportunity for these decks to really rise up the ranks over the course of the next few weeks. And so, as we cycle back to the deck itself, again, this is a very high-powered thing. There's a lot of play in the Eternal format going towards Poppy and Ziggs, just a very high-powered selection of units. They have high stats. If your Poppy ever gets to start attacking uninteracted with, then you typically just snowball and run over all of those games. And so Having these very meaty units like Ziggs tied in with Poppy boosting everything, it's just been a fairly straightforward and strong strategy. But again, the cards I really kind of wanted to tie in here and see how they feel within this Nox and Shell is going to be the addition of Yordle Explorer, granting all of our follow-up Yordles that +1/+1. And so if you think of a standard curve of Yordle Explorer into Ziggs, who would be a 4/4, and then Poppy, who would be a 4/3, she's back to her initial self, right? Do you all remember when Poppy was just naturally a 4/3? What a fucking shit show that was. But nonetheless, allowing her to become a 4/3 and then immediately attack as a 5/4, it's just a huge and powerful curve. And so I like that kind of aspect to it. It's a real kind of engine-y build-up style deck, as you would kind of see out of a deck like Elites. But the flavor that I think is kind of interesting you get out of Yordles is a lot of the card generation that comes out of Bandle City. And so what you typically see out of a Noxus-based aggro deck is you just kind of run out of stuff to do, right? But as this deck has and wants to be playing cards like Bandle City Player, it has and wants to be playing cards like Paparo, you have a lot of unit generation and a lot of card generation. So where a lot of aggro decks in the past would kind of flounder and run out of things to do and they'd stop being able to spend their mana, you have a lot of additional card generation options. And so just within this deck, we noted the Mayor and the Paparo. Pokestick is a fantastic mana sink, just cycling and keeping things going. And then the new addition of the Portal Pioneer gives us that little bit of extra variety-based interaction, if you will. To help generate some stuff. And so with this, with things like Portal Pioneer, I'm not entirely certain how much of these we want to be playing naturally. I think he's a very interesting unit in the sense that he can be generated both by Bandle City Mayor and by Paparo. And so if you really want to roll the dice to take down your opposing Sunken Temples, you could look to just remove the Portal Pioneer entirely, but I've found that I'm pretty happy with it. The last couple of things to kind of call out with this is we are playing the 2 copies of Teemo instead of the full 3 copies of Ziggs. I do like the kind of ideals with this in that you don't have to play Teemo on the first turn of the game. He is very powerful if you just play him for free off of a Bandle City Mayor. So maybe on turn 1, we lead off with our Region Rearguard. On turn 2, we play our Yordle Explorer. Turn 3, we play the Bandle City Mayor. We can then play Teemo for free. And so it is nice to be able to kind of churn out these multi-faction spells immediately. And so I do kind of like that aspect of it, because as it kind of stands with units like Ziggs, if you want to find a big unit, you can find a big unit. But these, very cheap plays like Teemo that also have elusive are a little bit more challenging to come across. The last thing to call out with this is we're playing 2 copies of Shunpo. Poppy absolutely loves having a rally and being able to attack multiple times and give that stacking bonus again and again and again. And so while it's not a common fixture within the Poppy Ziggs style of decks, it's a card that I really like and enjoy, especially as we look to fill out our board with things like Portal Pioneer that also gives us the mana back as we play it. So it's technically a free play if we have that Bandle City Mayor on the board, right? It gets that 1 mana discount from the Mayor. It gives you that 1 mana refund for playing the Attune. And so it gives you a, kind of a free way to get units on the board that ties in strongly with Poppy. And then it makes it not as painful to cast Shunpos and get that 5 mana up and running for this spell. And so that's it. That's what we're going to be doing battle with today. But you know what we got to do before the battles begin? We got to turn something premium, and it's going to be our boy Yordle Pioneer here. We've talked about you so much. So happy to get you premium. You're so shiny. Your Explorer's refreshments are shiny now. Whew, what a day to be alive. So let's go ahead, jump on in. Not the Path of Champions, into the end of the casual queues in that eternal space. Let's see what we run into. What do we got? No champion. Shadow Isles Freylord. Seems like something we probably don't want to be playing against. I'm not entirely certain what this will amount to. This is typically like something that you would see with Anivia, but she's clearly not here, so it'll be interesting to see what opponent brings up for us. So a touch of an awkward start, though. Having double might in your opener is something that you never really want. It's one of those, kind of problems that I've always had with this deck, in the sense that might, while being, very high-powered, it does run into a lot of these spots to where, you know, it's a very expensive combat trick. If you're not finishing the game off, it doesn't do a ton. And then it also can be kind of interacted with a little bit more easily. So if you're trying to get that killing blow in and you use might to finish it off and your opponent has a concussive palm or something, can be a little bit painful to do. So what are our thoughts on this? I typically want to just be running Poppy out, say like right now. You know, we don't have the mana to play Poppy right now, but having her in this space to where we get to immediately open attack with her. And I'm curious if that's, you know, the space we should be kind of shooting for. This 7 mana attack would have been kind of okay, especially with 2 tiny spears giving us the chance to boost those units, but I think that we're just like a little bit too far behind now. And so where that was going to lie and where we're kind of bringing that up for as we roll into this turn with double might, double Nox and Fervor now, it's a very strong place to have access to that 3 mana. And you know, just something to do is that having that mana a little bit more important. And oh, this is just a struggle zone of a spot for us, but we're probably stuck just kind of needing this Poppy to work because our hand is so just burn heavy at this point. Like I don't feel like we could just open there and be happy about it. Could have mighted through the Spiderling, but nah. These words are in no way making me excited. I was considering if we want to perhaps take a shield so that we can look to you know, protect the Yordle Squire from another 1 damage removal, but I think we can stop here. We've given him enough enough juice to lay the pipe on, and so I think that's a reasonable place to stop. Alright, so I'm just going to let that go. We'll continue to be mana efficient, get that tiny spear on board, but you know, you see things like that and you wonder if you didn't miss out on leveling up your Poppy's health. It's been so nice if these mites were an actual unit. Oh boy, a Nox and Fervor. Okay. It's just rough. Like maybe he'll do something weird and we'll find a spot to play a mite here. Nope. Just nope. We should have Nox and Fervored off of that. That was my bad. I was just I was getting kind of down in the dumps of having to play against the removal pile here, and kind of is what it is. But I mean, we're still getting that damage in. He's not doing anything to threaten lethal. I don't know how this deck is actually supposed to win the game. And we are getting to this kind of spot where it's like, well, we're taking him to 11 and we sort of have 9 damage of burn in hand. So it doesn't take a huge effort to turn this game around and just steal something that seems like we should never be winning. Oh my god, what a just an awkward ass draw. Alright, Bandle City Mayor's here to turn it around. We really needed to pick up a Bandle City Mayor, pick up a Paparo, something that just lets us get a bunch of stats on board. I'm going to go with the Bomber Twins here. He does have the opportunity to, say, find the Targon thing that draws 2 spells. Crimson Banquet is not what we were looking for here, but I think it was okay to shoot for the high roll. I was curious if this was going to be a Soul Cleave styled of deck. That's okay. We can let him do this. You know, we're just not worried about the Undying at this point. We just need to get these last few points of damage in. And so I'm going to add the Yordle Explorer. I'm kind of hoping we get in this spot to where he just plays like a 7 mana dude, right? I don't know what it's going to be, but some big herpity-derpity kind of guy. And so that we can then come in and just like stun it with Pirouette, get that big tempo gain, and try and finish off the game from there. And we can let this go. I assume he's going to play some kind of spell here, but if this attack rolls through, we take him to 4. We can then Pirouette and try and kill him that way. So I was hoping that he would like cast a spell on one guy and then we could burst some mites off onto somebody else. Didn't quite come down that way, but I feel at least reasonably safe with the 4 burn in hand.
Okay. Speech?
I mean, it doesn't feel good, but I don't know. These units can't block, and so I don't know what else he's supposed to be doing here. And it's like I just start to wonder if there's not a space we can't just win this game with Shunpo right now. It feels a little bit dangerous, and I'd love to see him to just spend a ton of mana on a unit that doesn't matter. And then if we can pull off the Pirouette and the Shunpo, it gives us an angle to victory. I don't suspect we're going to be able to do something with like Mites and Shunpos and attacking with this same unit twice, but you know, it's something that could be on the table as well. Who do we want out of these? The Furious Feyfolk, I don't think we want. I'm looking towards the Grandfather Fey here so that we can get the Owlcat with Spell Shield and then drop our Mites onto that Spell Shielded Owlcat. I think that's our path to victory here. Okay. Would have been cool to have that 1 mana. It's extremely relevant at this point, given that you know, if we're wanting to play Shunpos or something, we're down that 1 point of mana now. All right, we made it through the Quietus. Here's our owl-based friend ready to be mited up. Seems like it's going to be okay. I don't know. I don't know how you feel about it, but we might have we might have dug our way through this one. Withering Whale. I don't think that's enough, Fam Jam. Don't think that's enough. All right, we got him. Rip it and roll it. GG. On to the next one. Oh, shit. The fuck? I broke it. Yeah, there we go. So, man, if you folks are over there in the European space, you can feel free to turn off the video and go watch the Chiefs. I'm curious if anyone has made their way over to Frankfurt to watch the Chiefs game. My understanding was that stadium in Frankfurt, I think it holds like 70 or 80,000 people, and I feel like 250,000 people showed up to get tickets, and so you know, it's nice to see the Chiefs go over there and shine. If it's your kind of introduction to American football, here's what you're going to hear over and over and over and over and over again as you watch the Chiefs play against the Miami Dolphins. Number one, it's going to be Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. I don't know how big Taylor Swift is in Europe. I assume that she's just still absolutely fucking massive like she is over here. And that's going to be a thing. It's going to be a lot of Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce. You're going to have to hear a lot of that. Story number 2 that you're going to hear is... what are we doing here? Do we want to get this Yordle Smith down? We're like definitely gonna play Poppy and attack on our turn 5. But this tough unit's kind of annoying. All right, let's just go with the Squire. But number 2, one of the top receivers in the league is Tyreek Hill. He was initially with the Kansas City Chiefs. Him and Patrick Mahomes scored tons and tons and tons and tons of touchdowns together. Now that Tyreek is on the Miami Dolphins, the Chiefs haven't really found a replacement in terms of wide receivers, and so you have to ask yourself the question over and over and over again: can the Chiefs survive without Tyreek Hill? And that's going to be a big topic. And then they'll probably just talk about Patrick Mahomes and Tua and who is better for the remainder of the time. But you know, you gotta get yourself ready for the incoming news stories, if you will, the points of topic amongst the games. I hope it's well received over there. I definitely enjoy football. That would be I find I have the bandwidth to follow one sport, a lot, and that's my choice. Otherwise, I follow basketball, the NBA when it's in the playoffs, and so as far as that goes, I just follow LeBron James. And so if LeBron James is in the playoffs, I watch all those games. He's got to be about to retire, right? Me and him are essentially the same age. He's turning 39 this season. I just turned 38 this year, and you have to assume he's getting up there in age, and so it's gonna kind of fall away, but. Where are you at? Let's take the keywords out. I think he's going to just open this turn with the Fiora, and we can't take the Challenger off, but on a following turn, we can maybe do that. But that's it. I've already decided that whenever LeBron retires, I'm just going to be a Giannis fan, and so we'll start watching the Bucks once that's all said and done. But for the moment, it's all LeBron. But I do occasionally pick up the soccer, as the European folks call it. They all call it soccer over there. But the women's league over here, the Kansas City women's team is actually very good. I don't know if that's just very good in terms of Americans women's soccer, or if that's something on the grand scale of things. But they made They made the finals last year, and props to them. So here we go. Everybody's got at least 3 power. We got this big ass Poppy attack rolling through. Let's see what happens. You have to assume he's probably gonna win one of these combats with the Fiora, right? He's got 4 mana back. It's very easy for him to have a flash freeze or have a barrier or something. But if we get our way on this upcoming turn, again, we're going to take this Challenger off of Fiora, and then if she can't challenge down one of our units, we don't have to worry about getting OTK'd on the following turn. There's still a little bit of worry, right? He can have like a single combat kind of card, but it becomes much more challenging for him to OTK us if this Fiora is at 2 ticks instead of 3. Just going for it. Let's see if we can get away with this now. As it stands, we can have a pretty decent open attack on this next turn. If we play Poppy now, and then Teemo goes up to 4, and we could potentially get the OTK that way. Like, I'd love to see him have to just spend a bunch of mana on this turn and then not be able to do anything else. So, again, I don't think it's has a lot of opportunity to be super successful, but it does have those chances we need to fight through this. So we die to a lot, but he can't just single combat us down with this Fiora, right? He has to he has to have something in terms of like a combat trick and a single combat or something, right? He has to block and then also get the single combat onto Teemo to take him down. And so we'll see. But yeah, ideally we would have gotten that challenger removed. You should be able to see what we were trying to go for on that previous turn now, to where if she doesn't get to pick her challenge and take a unit down, then we're in a spot to where she would only be at 2 at this point. Got a concerted strike? Sure. So this is what it is. We tried our best to get out of that. It's a pretty tough thing for us to come in and get around. Did he fuck that up? Why does it say we won the game? Or is it just gonna make us watch the whole combat, then show the animation? All right. Good job. Good job, Riot. Good job. But that is one of the perks of playing the Noxen version of these decks that you don't quite get when you play the Demacia versions, is typically, if you're running up against this nonsense like Fiora, you do get the chance to maybe Noxen Fervor your unit away. So you can kill off your own dude before the strike rolls in. Alright though, up against what I assume is Darkness, reasonable enough start. See what we can do.
I've never tried this chemical before.
Alright, we'll keep playing dudes and attacking. The worst thing that could happen to us is he'll play that 3-2 that makes the darknesses stronger, and then we can still just trade with it. So I don't feel like it's really worthwhile open attacking to get that 2 points of damage in and then trading with the catalyzer later. You know, if we give our chemists +1/+1 off of Poppy, they're still to the size to where they have to trade.
There is light yet.
All right, Darkness dude rolling in. We'll drop the Mayor. I think we want this Scholarly Climber here. I do really like having Spell Shield in this match, but he doesn't like Elusive, Overwhelm, or Rally, which is kind of a bummer. Maybe we just take this Yordle Ranger instead.
We are united.
But we're looking on this upcoming turn to be able to add Poppy, be able to add the Rearguard, and then still get a really good combat in. We can just lead with the Rearguard, I guess. Like, what does he have that's going to kill Bandle City Mayor that wouldn't have killed it on the last turn? Now that he's spent a bunch of mana, we know that she's safe.
No backing down.
Seems fun. Wasn't expecting opulent foyers to come out of this, though. But your hallowed darkness, if you will.
We resist to the last.
Poppy's gonna get zinged by this darkness, but I think that's okay. We can just play another one. Then try and finish this off with Shunpo next turn. Thinking on it long and hard. Go ahead. I was, you know, as soon as you say something like long and hard, you have to get ready for like just the filthy jokes to roll through your brain. They started to filter their way in. I'll just say I'll leave that opportunity for you. You know, that's that's something that you can use on that one. You know, you've been given the opener.
I'm that hero.
How about you just go in and finish it off? Another key phrase to use when you say stuff like long and hard. And so
I am here.
I hope you're ready. I hope you're ready for that. More poppies. Wow. I think we still want to swing. This is still so much damage. It should be 11 from our non-poppy units. If he wants to block something with the Sentinel, it doesn't even look like, you know, that great of a block. I think this is fine. We do still have the mana here to potentially play Ziggs and Shunpo this turn. So I think we're in tip-top shape here. So he stuns twice. All right. So we're going to be short of the lethal, right? 3 from the chemist, 4 from Ziggs gets us to 7. So let's just add the ranger, and we'll look to Shunpo next turn. Maybe you'll spend 6 mana on that dude that doesn't matter, right? Get the get that big lifesteal unit out here. I'm fine with that. We drew all the poppies this game, though. It's a fun little thing to do. I'm always on board with playing some poppies, so why not just play 3 poppies in the same game?
Wouldn't be a quest without some danger.
Now, one of the things I distinctly remember spending a long time making a video on the usage of Poppy and Yordle Smith and Lulu and organizing things in the right order so that their stats function properly. I'm not going to bother with that this time, but you do need to pay attention to your units in terms of attacking left or right as you're trying to grow stuff with or give things quick attack with Yordle Smith and grow stuff with Poppy. As we attack with Poppy now, she needs to be to the left of this Bandle City Mayor, so they have the same amount of attack, so the Poppy buff will then land on the Mayor as well. Just a lot of things you have to kind of watch out for. This game's done, though. You don't have to watch out for that. You can... Looks like we're going to play this for a bit, but you can go get yourself a fresh coffee or something if you want. You just gotta get these attacks in.
If you want something done right, let me do it.
Alright, so not a ton to worry about here with the Yordle Smith. He's not going to grow everyone. Oh man, I thought our Mayor was going to grow. That was a little bit of a whoopsies there, but
You'll get me next time.
still got him. GG. On to the next one. Let's get ourselves 2 more games in with this number. We'll call it a 5-game day. Off to the races. All right, Daybreak seems like it should cause us some problems. The big units coming out of the Daybreak decks tend to outclass everything that we're doing in combat, and then we don't have ways to protect Poppy, right? So we would typically want to be attacking with Poppy and then having a combat trick or something, so when she gets blocked by Leona, she doesn't die. But I'm not going to be able to do that here. And this is also one of these spaces to where you have to open attack against the Daybreak deck a lot, right? So on turn 3, we would ideally, get to put a Yordle on board and get to attack with it and get all those extra bonuses. But it's so easy for the opponent to play a Solari Shield Bearer or a Stun Bird or something and completely take our attacks away
Pick a pine cone.
that we're just going to have to open attack next turn. And I don't know why the game does this so frequently this patch. This lag thing is fucking annoying.
To swing harder.
Okay. So here, I think we want to add Paparo to the board. There's a couple of things with him. I do want to see if we can't find another 1-mana Yordle, which we can get here out of the Crackshot Corsair. So I'm going to take it. That's going to let us play the just maximum number of units for our Poppy. Man, this is getting to a spot to where I'm not going to want to open. But he gives us the biggest chance of that. But the way his mana is now, I think we can pretty safely attack with this crew.
Send 'em sky high. I'll make you proud.
Just a mountain of stats that's going to roll through on all of our friends. Do it this way. Does this make it better? Poppy's just not getting quick attack. If we if you do it like that, it's not gonna come through. All right, happy enough there. But this is a pretty good collection of stats. Like I don't suspect our Poppy's gonna make it much further than this turn, and so it does feel like reasonably strong here. To where if he wants to deal with her, he's gonna have to play a bunch of stuff like sunbursts, right? A little surprised to see the combat trick come in here. It doesn't really do anything. I think this looks good. Okay. So up against Targon, don't have to worry about AoEs. Let's just get the meatiest board that we can. Sure, we'll pick up Shark Trainer. I love the Shark Trainer update they made so much to where when allies attack, you just summon the unit. It used to be that you had to spend a spell mana for the Shark Trainer to work, and I messed that thing up so many times. So many times I messed up the Shark Trainer in the sense that it was like I would go into the next turn, and if you had completely banked out this turn, you couldn't spend real mana to do it. You had to spend spell mana on the thing. Just a frustrating pain point. Does our Shark Tooth get bonuses this way? Looks like he does. Okay. I can't imagine there's a way for opponent to get out of this, especially having a Might in hand as well. Is not. GG. Neg 32 right to the nugget. Let's get ourselves into that final battle. Right, nice. How do you like them booms? Who's that, Ziggs? He doesn't like apples, he likes the booms. Okay. Final battle. Last one. Man, I was thinking earlier, my kind of hope for this space going forward to where we're in this awkward transition period between the open and the next set is to be able to just draft. I don't know what the word is on draft formats coming into Runeterra. It seems like there was supposed to be like an announcement towards the end of this year about something happening next year. So it was like they were going to be potentially coming about in 2024. But I don't remember how accurate that was, or I think Riot's usually pretty closed-lipped about things like that. And if there was a change, I just don't think they would announce it. So we'll see, though. I mean, I'm excited to have the potential. It would be a nice way to spend this last week or so waiting on the next set to come out. But here, as far as this turn goes against Talia Lysandra, they're in this space to where all of their small units, their 2-mana plays are all 2/2s. So I knew that we could pretty safely get the Yordle Smith on board. I'm happy to trade away the Legion Rearguard to get the Yordle Smith up and running. So this works out just fine. Vandal City Mayor can come in. With this, I'm wanting to envision this deck as being very removal heavy, and I don't think it is. So with this, I'm just going to take the Kingpin to add another Yordle to our roster, and not necessarily have to like pick a minion, right? Minion doesn't do a ton here.
Now where did I leave that beaker?
All right, well, we should get a pretty good combat this round. If he's got a Avalanche, that was going to be slightly annoying, but we don't see it. Paparo's free to come in. I'm leaning towards this Fuzzy Caretaker. The support ability is pretty powerful. He's the highest, stat damage thing that we can get going on here. All right, everybody gets the bonus attack. Everybody's got quick attack. Send them on in. Take him down to 10. Still got a pretty healthy board. Might find ourselves able to attack around a Frozen Thrall on our next attack token. I'm on board with all that.
Point the way, and I'll make the way.
So the question with this really kind of comes down to whether or not we want to play the pirouette, and I think we're going to be too slow for pirouette. I'm going to just go ahead and leave that one at home. We'll just go for maximum damage right out the gates with this attack. Oh, hang on. So we're going to want Paparo, because we want the Paparo thing to hit before we give the +3 attack off of the Fuzzy Caretaker. And I like this. Everybody should be getting the stats. Looks like it. Okay. And then we'll just have to follow up. We have a couple of points of damage, a burn in hand, so if he has a quicksand or something weird to prevent a bunch of damage, we should still be pretty safe. Ooh, a Talia. I guess he's coin flipping, right? If he hits Lysandra, he can do the AoE. Oh, she doesn't flip to AoE. Okay, perfect. I was worried about him playing Entomb and then hitting Ice Shard, right? But she generates Ice Shard. She flips into Entomb. All right. Good set of games. Nice set of battles. We can pull this up, talk about it a little bit more. And so I don't think did we do any work with, yeah, we had Yordle Explorers in these games. I didn't think the Yordle Explorer ever quite turned up, but he's been in the mix, and you know, these cards are quite strong. There's a lot of flexibility that you can take in terms of working with this deck, and say maybe fitting in Conchologists if you need to, or whatnot there. But at the end of the day, the things I really liked with this is I think the Yordle Explorer is quite good, especially as you go into a format like Eternal, to where the small damage burn spells tend to be much more common and relevant. Like we were playing Standard, and the Janna decks were just like very popular, but a lot of the Janna decks didn't even bother to play Mystic Shot over the course of this past season. You tend to see a lot more Mystic Shots running around in Eternal. Because there's just it's a faster format, and that's one of the ways that you kind of quell the aggression. And so to have a unit like Yordle Explorer available, it's certainly an upgrade. It survives a lot more stuff than these smaller Yordles didn't along the way. And so as far as this deck goes, I wasn't super impressed with Portal Pioneer. Like I don't know, we just played against Thralls. I guess it could have been something in that space, but it's tough to tell with it if it's something that we're going to want in the main deck and how many copies. If like things like Thralls and things like Rise start to turn up, then those work a little bit better. With Jax Ornn running around quite a bit, they work in that space. And so it's tough to tell if we are just kind of in a short mix of games and not running into the good spots to where we really want the Pioneers. But otherwise, I was quite happy with how this went. I'm glad we got to pull off the 0 mana Teemo just to kind of showcase how much better he can be in Ziggs in that space. We got a lot of attacks in with the Paparos and the Bandle City Mayors and stuff. We won some games with Shunpo. A lot of very interesting things along the way. And I think this has a bit of potential. And so we'll have to see as the Eternal format rotates in. If the Yordles are going to be something that can push to the top. Because the thing that ultimately worries me about Yordles is if we look at a space like Elites, right? You can run multiple versions of Elite decks, but they start to fall off in quality once you move away from Jarvan and move away from having access to Garen. And as you look at the Yordles package, like Poppy is far and away the strongest Yordle that you have access to. But if the strength of your deck starts to lie in things like Yordle Explorer and things like Paparo and Bandle City Mayor, to where the champions are just kind of incidental and it's actually the cards within the deck that are the strong thing, you can very easily find yourself having a triple Yordle deck for something like the Open. And it shouldn't be like too crazy for people to think about just coming out of a Warden of the Tribes meta, to where you're able to play 3 versions of Warden of the Tribes if you really want to. This is the space to where you might be able to find triple Yordles if they catch a little bit of love in the variety patch, or maybe when the next set comes out. But as we are looking to this space to where it's a very short turnaround between the release of the variety set and then the Open, if you don't have the time to really devote into learning 3 separate decks, then learning Yordles is something that you could look to in terms of being as most prepared as you can for the event without, you have 10 days, you spend 3 days playing decks you don't like, and now you're down to only a week of time. And if you really get to, kind of hone in and learn Yordles, then that lets you focus in and really understand a lot of the matchups from the Yordles perspective, as opposed to just kind of dirtling around with a bunch of different decks. And so it's interesting. We'll see how it turns out. But nonetheless, good set of games. I had fun with that. I hope you did too, because that is going to do it for us today. So I hope everyone enjoyed the video. Hope you maybe learned a thing or two along the way, and you had a good time watching. This is Bustin'. We thank you for being here.